Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. I just want to provide an update on the 7-alarm fire that we had yesterday at 30 Juniper Road in North Attleboro. My name's Chris Coleman. I'm the fire chief for the North Attleboro Fire Department. So as I briefed you yesterday at 14:05 hours, we received a 911 call and subsequent central station alarm reporting a fire at 30 Juniper Road in one of the apartments involving an air conditioning unit. First arriving units arrived on scene with fire showing from the back of the building. Our firefighters made an aggressive interior attack, encountered very heavy fire conditions immediately as they forced the door to the apartment. And then they were immediately withdrawn as the fire did penetrate the attic and started to run the entire attic of the building. We pulled everybody out. We did go to defensive operations. Prior to that, evacuating all the firefighters, we were able to do a quick primary search of the entire building, and everyone was out of the building, thankfully, at that point in time. We did require 7 alarms for a multitude of reasons. This building is kind of set back off the road a little bit. We had some extremely long hose lays from hydrants, which were in the area. We had to go back through backyards of other houses. We had to pump a fire hydrant, multiple fire hydrants. What that means is that, there's a standard pressure coming off of a fire hydrant, but due to the large volume of hose lines and aerial devices that were being used, we needed to put additional pressure. So we put fire trucks on at least 2 hydrants in the area to boost that pressure to get the fire under control. There were no injuries to firefighters or civilians at this fire. Currently, there are several missing animals. We are working with animal control, a structural engineer for the complex right now to see if it's safe for firefighters to go in and do a hasty search, as we call it, for any remaining animals, and working with the owners on that aspect of things. We did bring departments in from as far away as Norwood to as south as Pawtucket, Rhode Island, Smithfield, Rhode Island. That was strictly for manpower and also for the extremely hose lays. Once we got the fire under control, we had to get firefighters into the building to perform overhaul and secondary searches, and that was the requirement for the additional alarms that were struck at this. Are there any questions regarding the operations side of things before I move on?
Chief, thank you for taking a moment to do this and update us. Crews who were on the scene are saying that they were thinly staffed, at least in the initial moments of this fire. How did staffing affect the response in the fire spread?
So initially at this fire, we showed up with 2 engine companies, a ladder company, and a shift commander. Both of our ambulances, which have 4 firefighters, were at the hospital, and they cleared from the hospital, but had a response back from Sturdy Hospital. So that, when you refer to the thinly staffing, that's what you're referring to. We did call mutual aid immediately from our surrounding communities. On the working fire, we get mutual aid from Attleboro, Plainville, and Cumberland, and a whole bunch of area communities. So normally we're staffed at 13. Because the ambulance were at the hospital, we were pulling up with 10 firefighters at this fire. Any questions?
Chief, is that an area of town that has fewer hydrants farther apart than, say, the center here?
So I wouldn't say fewer hydrants. It is probably more spread apart. And due to the location of the property, tucked back off the road a little bit, we had to lay in from Jefferson Street, which was probably about 600 to 800 feet from the actual fire building itself.
Chief, having seen the footage of the fire, I have to wonder, and I'm sure you've thought about this, what if this had occurred in the middle of the night?
So at 2 o'clock in the morning, this would have been a much different story. We would have had 30 units in a 3-story apartment building with people trapped. The amount of fire we had in this building quickly escalated into that attic space, and it was traveling. And when we even got to the fire, we still had people inside the building that we had to get out of the building. When it comes to the staffing piece, that's why we bring in additional manpower to perform those primary searches, which is our primary job as life safety.
Chief, the fire, when it was spreading, looks like it spread across this entire connected structure. Was there a firewall in between these sections of building? Would a firewall have helped stop or slow the spread of this fire?
So the destruction up on the roof is pretty significant, but it does look like there was some cinder blocks up there. It was a double-layered roof up there, which did provide some additional protection. But the attic, for the most part, was pretty much open. This building was built, don't quote me on this, but I want to say in the 60s time frame, but then some renovations that occurred. So a firewall certainly would have kept it in check, but I will tell you the amount of fire that was in the attic and coming out of the vent stacks, it almost looked like a tornado at one point coming out of there. So there was very heavy fire conditions moving at a very rapid speed.
Chief, we've been talking to residents at the scene who have mentioned that there have been issues with birds in the building, possibly in the air conditioning units. Have you heard any reports of that? Is that something you're looking into?
So I can get into that with the investigation portion, but I will tell you we did hear that, and I can elaborate a little more when we get to the investigation portion. Any other questions operation-wise? Okay. So the next thing, the investigation, obviously. So we did bring in North Attleboro Fire Investigation Unit. We've got 4 highly trained investigators who investigate all of our fires thoroughly. We did bring in the Massachusetts State Police Fire Investigation Unit just because of the high dollar loss at this building. And in conjunction with both entities, the fire is going to be deemed accidental. Does not appear to be suspicious at this time. And we are looking at an air conditioning unit in one of the units. I don't know exactly what unit it was, but one of the units where the fire originated, we just don't know if it was a electrical malfunction or some other malfunction of the AC unit that was in the wall of the apartment. In regards to recovery phases, we are working with the property management. A lot of these units are condos, so they are privately owned. So we are working with the management company. We just held a meeting with all the residents that are able to attend. We are providing them with resources between the state, local facilities, and we are working on setting up a resource recovery center. We're hoping tomorrow at the middle school. What that resource recovery center does, that brings in a multitude of agencies that can help people with, for example, licenses or passports or mental health clinicians, housing, working with State Representative Scanlon. He's got some applications that he's working with people right now at the middle school to get them some temporary housing with that. In regards to donations, we have had an outpouring support of donation requests. Any donations that people would like to help, we're going to refer them to Taylor O'Neill. She's our PIO and communications person for the town. She can be reached at 508-699-0100. Once again, 508-699-0100. That will bring you to a phone tree, and you can select her extension number, or it's T. O'Neill, ONTONEIL, at nattleboro.com. And then lastly, if you follow our town website, and this is for the media as well as the residents that are affected, there is going to be a webpage that is going to have the Juniper Road Assistance website on there, and it's going to provide updates as far as when they can potentially enter their condo units to as what resources are available. Right now, we have a structural engineer working with the building property owner to say if it's safe. We have a plan in place, and we will be releasing those specifics with the property manager, I would say within the next couple hours, onto our Facebook page as well as the town website, and communicating that with the building property management. Are there any questions?
Chief, back to the operation portion again. What time did the last crews leave?
I think the last crews left probably around 8 o'clock last night. We did find a couple hot spots. We did use our drone, which has a thermal imaging camera on there. We did put it up. We ensured that there were no smoldering areas. We did have one small area that we had to redeploy a hose line and extinguish that hot spot.
And the building right next door is very close. Remarkable that that did not catch.
That is that fire was progressing towards that building. We were able to get a Mansfield tower ladder in that driveway, fed by an additional fire apparatus, as well as a Cumberland ladder truck in the back. And we were able to have that in place in case the fire did spread. The heat was incredible standing in front of the building. So we were very close to having a severe exposure on that. We will call it the Bravo side of the fire building.
I know there's often like post-fire debriefs within the department. How did that go? Any lessons learned or things moving forward?
So obviously we're less than 24 hours past the fire. So we do a after action for all of our major incidents and fires, and we'll be working with the command staff as well as our shift commanders and our firefighters and to review the fire incident.
Chief, right now, is there anything in your eyes that could have been done different to try and prevent this fire from getting as large as it did?
No, this fire had a significant head start on us. When the firefighters, the first two firefighters from the first two engine company entered the building, they had some complication where they had to force the door. The door was deadbolted in multiple different ways for security purposes, so they had to overcome that challenge. When they forced that door, only two firefighters, right? Only two firefighters doing this. They had to force that door. When they forced that door, they had heavy fire coming over their heads already out of the apartment and into the hallway. So the amount of heat that they experienced in that hallway was incredible. They did a phenomenal job with the limited manpower they had.
Chief, moving forward, is there anything that you're going to look at in terms of staffing if a situation were to unfortunately come up like this again? Is there...
So I am constantly working with the town on that, and that's obviously a budgetary consideration, but I do work with the town frequently on the staffing of our fire department.
Sounds like, as far as we know, the residents say like the alarms went off as they should have. Were there sprinklers or anything, or anything?
There was no sprinklers in the building. It wasn't required for that time. The building was recently outfitted with the fire alarm system, which did sound and did operate, and we did receive that call from the central station alarm.
During recent inspections, are you aware of any issues with the building? When was the last time it was inspected?
So that question came up at our residents meeting. Because they're condos, we don't do inspections, or the fire department doesn't do inspections because it's privately owned. When they sell the units, then it's a smoke detector inspection through a 26F. That's when it's done. Regards to the last inspection, if there was anything done with the common areas, that'd be a question for the building department.
In terms of where the fire came from, previously this originated in this unit, we don't know exactly what this unit it was in.
Correct, yeah, I think, I don't have in front of me the actual fire origin room, but it was in one of the apartments on the back side of the building.
I did also just want to come back to the question about birds. Several residents have told us about birds in the building. You had mentioned you were aware at this point of that. Do you know if the building owner was aware of those concerns before the fire?
That's unknown. So it's a property management company, not necessarily the building owner, because each of the units are considered condominiums and they're privately owned. So the building management is kind of like an HOA. I don't know what their purview and what they're required to do or not do.
Any final questions?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.